Welcome to Newsroom, brought to you by Insurance Brokers Alliance. Our panel tonight will be talking, as per usual, about events from far and wide in the news. Welcome back to the panel, Mary Jane Thomas, Crown Prosecutor and local lawyer, and financial guru Stephen O'Connor.
Hi Bill.
Nice to have you back.
Thank you.
Let's start local with you, Stephen. Tell us about why Holdco needed to get permission from the council to increase the uncalled capital, 32.35 million.
Primarily, Bill, because they had approved expenditure that they didn't have the money to fund.
So they approved the expenditure, Holdco had?
Yes, well they'd approved the upgrade of the Invercargill airport,
right.
And then EIL were busy building this new substation in town.
Mm-hmm.
And this ongoing expenditure, they didn't have the funds to meet those expenditures without increasing their borrowings, and they were at their limit. Which, because they had, they've got a contingent liability at the moment,
okay.
Uncalled capital of 67.5 million. So they wanted to increase that to 100 so that they could meet their commitments. Their projected borrowing showed, I think, a peak of about 88 million, so that they couldn't have got through without increasing it. Mm-hmm. So the council considered three options. One was status quo, which effectively wasn't an option at all, because otherwise they wouldn't have been able to meet their commitments unless they'd done something else in terms of, I don't know, selling off assets or finding some money from somewhere else. I don't know whether they've got any secret piles of money. The option two was what they went with, increasing it to 100 million, and option three was they wanted the 100 million plus another 32 million, just a wee contingency fund in case Holdco decided that they could come up with some other harebrained scheme.
Just another 32 mil?
Yeah. Just.
Can I ask something? Who's Holdco? Explain it to me, because I'm not...
Invercargill City Holdings Limited is the company that owns the City Council's, I guess you call them, commercial assets. So,
and who runs Holdco?
It's a board of directors.
Who's the board of directors?
The chairman is Graham Sycamore, so there's three councillors on there. I think there's Graham, I'm not quite sure. But
so they're the councillors that didn't vote?
No, Neil's not on there.
Are they the ones that didn't vote when it went to the council?
Correct. So the council directors of Holdco couldn't vote because they were conflicted, plus the council directors of EIL didn't vote because they were conflicted as well.
So who else is on Holdco?
Well, there's two independents. There's Tim Lone. There's Cam McCulloch.
Yeah. I
think they're the two independents, and I think there's three councillors, or maybe four councillors. I'm not 100% sure.
So it's interesting because like a lot of people will be asking. So essentially, Holdco is really just a part of the city council with councillors plus some independents.
Yeah, and it owns EIL.
Which is EIL's what?
Electricity Invercargill Limited.
Okay.
It owns the Invercargill Airport.
Right. Yeah.
It owns Invercargill City Forests.
Yep.
And it owns Invercargill City Properties. Now, Invercargill City Properties owns the land at Ararua that they're.
Okay, I understand. That's helpful because I've never really
the council,
got it.
Look, the actual council owns all the shares in Holdco.
Correct.
Hence, they can appoint the directors.
Yes.
Yeah.
So why did they overexpend then? What was the argument? This might be interesting because a lot of people won't follow it.
Absolutely.
So why? Because most of us would say we can't spend until we know that we've got the income.
Funny that.
But normally
the ability to borrow.
Or the ability to borrow. So why did it end up that they spent and then had to come back and look for money?
That question hasn't been answered at this stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So that would go back to your board, I suppose, who would.
Some of the councillors were raising that question as part of the.
Is that why Karen Anderson got into trouble?
Karen Arnold.
Sorry, Karen. No.
Not particularly. She was more raising issues around conflicts of interest.
So saying you're on the board. Okay, I understand that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you clearly don't think. What do you think should have happened then?
Well,
sorry.
It's a legitimate question because I actually submitted on the proposal.
Okay.
And I initially, because there was two rounds of consultation because the first one was totally a debacle, so they had to do a second one. But in the second one, I clearly said that preferred option 2 because option 1 was not an option. Because
Well, you can't renege, can you?
no, you cannot.
I mean, it's not a good look, is
And
it?
they'd already
So
started the work.
It's
by
kind
then,
of done, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've started the work, by the way, we're not going to pay you. Okay, so option 1
We
was
haven't
never
got
there.
any money.
But, so option 2 was...
The increase to 100 mil.
And then option 3 was give us 100 plus another 30.
Yeah.
So you got the option that was the only option available, sensibly, was it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't read the paper because I find it, isn't that awful? But I just find it terminally boring.
It's
But
interesting.
I actually now understand it now. Thank you for that.
It's a very good little lesson there. Thank you, Steve. I'm
Yes.
sure a lot of you understand it better. And the question is, of course, if this has happened the first time, Holco's gone ahead and done that, well, surely they might be thinking on the next project we'll just do the same thing again because they'll have to give us it's a form of blackmail, isn't it?
Well, I don't think they'll
Or
be
is that going too far?
I don't think they'll be doing it again in a,
No, I don't.
in a hurry.
All right.
I think, they've sort of had their wings clipped a little bit.
Okay.
Are we into... The difficulty is, though, obviously, and this is why people that like local politics care, is that it impacts upon the ratepayer. So essentially what occurs, isn't it, is that if people overexpend or... We're guaranteeing, like, I am actually guaranteeing
The
the
$100 million.
debt of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that's why people that care, Mary Ward and people like that, I like Mary, do you know what I mean? Like, they do, there's a lot of
Yeah, that's
people
right.
that care
They do
passionately
care.
about this.
Yeah.
So each
That's a good thing that they
ratepayer
do too.
is a guarantor of expenditure for holdco. So even though we sort of theoretically own the assets, if it all goes to heck, like it's like in Auckland, you know how they've overspent?
That's right.
The flow-on effect is through our rates.
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah.
so we've simplified the whole thing, haven't we?
Absolutely.
Very short space. That took us exactly 6 minutes and 55 seconds.
And,
Well
and-
done.
And on your point about people caring and going to the point of submitting, our mayor, from the comments that have been reported from the meeting, would seem to be saying that that they should be able to ignore submitters, or that they're just an annoyance.
I think the difficulty is, and I have a bit of experience having lived with a man that was into, passionately into public, for years, and I've got to be honest, I'm into other things, but those that do care passionately, and I think the only way the system works is that you have a group of people that do care. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, why bother? Isn't that the fundamental nub of it? You have to have people
It's like anything, isn't
that
it?
care.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people don't care about some sports, for example, or some people. Yeah, that's dead right.
But like
it's an interest group.
It's an interest group.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like when you put it back that we are paying for it, I suppose that you can understand people getting
Yeah.
hot. You got hot enough under the collar to make a submission.
And it's the first time I've made a submission.
Yeah.
But I actually felt that I had to do it. Yeah.
Well, you're one of the few people who actually understood it probably. Most people thought uncalled capital, what the heck's this, what is this, what is this, what is this, and really didn't understand. I mean, Mary Jane, you said you didn't understand, you're an intelligent person, well, there have been a lot of others
Well, I
besides
think
you.
the problem about it is we see his holdco and then we see the city council, and then I glaze over after a certain amount of time because you think, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that if you come to the nub of it, wasn't the argument simply you should not spend money until you have the money, and that may people hate me. It's probably simplifying it, but that's what I understood.
I
A
think
lot of
that's
people
pretty
were
fair,
arguing
isn't it?
about.
That's one of the major lessons, and the
Yeah.
other one is the money that you are expending, is it being invested well? Because at the end of the day, the objective of Holdco is to provide a return to the ratepayer, so that the council is not so
Because
reliant
isn't the
on rates.
idea so the return then comes in to the amenities? Oh, I do sound like my old husband. That if you're doing your amenities for your libraries and for your sewerage
And to be fair to
and
them.
the unsexy stuff. See, that's the argument, isn't it? See, I could get into this local politics. There's an argument that says your core job for a local government is the unsexy stuff like sewerage
Well, a lot of
and
people
all that
argue
sort of
that,
thing.
and but what they identify as the core business, they think that the local body should just take money from the ratepayers and spend that money. And some people are opposed to them actually making money. And to be fair to Holdco, EIL and all those, they actually have made quite a good profit. I mean, the forests have done well, EIL has done okay.
But see, that's when you got into this huge argument, didn't you, about the films? Oh, we could get... Listen to me, I did listen to some of this, this idea, is our core business to fund two little boys. Was that what it was called? Or is it a core business to do all those sorts of things? So it's
And did forestry make money?
oh,
Does forestry make money?
doesn't it only
That-
make money when you cut the trees down?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that, Bill, because the picture that's been painted in recent years is that they've done really well out of forestry, but the reality is that those forests have been in the ground for, 20, 30 years. So what is the actual rate of return if you go back?
So you're
over that
saying if you
period?
took the money that you invested in planting the trees and invested them in something else, you may have gotten a better rate of return over the 20 years
May well have.
than waiting for the 20 years when you cut them down.
Correct.
Oh. Gee, who would have thought it was so interesting?
Well, I think we've actually, I think we've actually tidied up the whole thing. Really, I mean, it is local politics. I think you hit it on the nail on the head, Mary Jane, when you said you glaze over, and I think a lot of people do.
I think a lot of people do.
But if that interest factor isn't there, I mean, we saw an example up north. Was it with the Northland County Council or something, where they over a sewage scheme they got into $100 million debt or something, and I mean, I've even heard a rumour now that someone was suggesting. And it would never happen. It was a suggestion that with the debt against the stadium in Dunedin, some foolish suggestion was even made to demolish the
I
thing.
wish Tom was here.
Yeah.
I have fought with Tom every time I've been here about the stadium. This is one thing I know. Beware of people spending money that's not their own. And as a lawyer, I know this. If you're going in and trying to get money from a corporation, it's a lot easier often than getting money from an individual, because if it's your own money and you've worked for it, do you know what I mean? Beware
Yes, that's
people
right.
that are spending money that wasn't work for them anyway.
Particularly if they can then resign from the body that spent the money without prejudice, without something
Liability.
Yeah, without liability. Yeah, and that
Tom
can
should
happen.
be here though. I've
Then
been
you could argue
hysterical
black
every
and white
time.
with him.
No, because Tom was like, the stadium. I was in the stadium for a hearing for 2 weeks, and it's lovely. Nobody was there except us, and I looked at it and I thought, gosh, this must take a lot of money. There was a little man that spent the whole 2 weeks going up and down putting compost on.
We're talking
on
about the
thing.
Dunedin Stadium, by the way, not our own wonderful one,
No,
which, against which there's very little debt. Yes.
Oh, that's another story. But
Which
yeah,
is- we won't go there.
No.
Good. I think well done. I think we've done well. Let's stay local and talk about this new alcohol limit. Mary Jane,
She comes straight to me.
Straight to you. No, well, you know about the laws and things. Well, the old limit, of course, is 400 micrograms on the breath, and that's been reduced to 250. If you're 251, you're over, and you'll be written a ticket, $200 fine. You're not allowed to drive your car home that night. Now, the law has been changed, and obviously people are being more careful. Do you think it's going to achieve or what it sets out to do, this law?
Oh, look, I think it's. Can I take my Crown Solicitor's
You
hat
can.
off?
You
I
can.
just
You
think
speak
it's
as an individual
dumb,
person.
Honestly, I just don't. Why? What? I don't get it. I might be wrong. I mean, what it stops you from doing is having a drink after work and driving home. And goodness knows I do that often enough. So now what I do not have a drink, or I do not, and then I just go home.
Yeah.
Well, and I only ever had one drink,
Yes.
because I was worried about getting pulled over by the cops and being the Crown Solicitor, etc.
Yeah.
So, and all
Very
it stopped.
sensible.
Well, I know, but all I'm doing now is just driving home, not having a drink.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just not convinced that the people that were having one drink were actually the ones that were causing the accidents.
I'm wondering if anybody's really looked at the statistics and said,
I'm sure they have.
Really hard and said, hang on, these people that are causing these accidents, just, how much alcohol do they have in their system?
Well, no, surely they have, because nobody would have put a law in place that was stupid. So I'm assuming that there are a lot of people out there that are causing accidents from having. I think you can only have one now, can't you?
Yes.
My
Well,
staff tell me.
maybe two.
Oh no, my staff are telling me,
Over an
MJ, no, just don't. Oh, it's terrifying.
Well, particularly after work, you haven't had anything to eat.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Unless you're prepared to stay there for a reasonably long time.
What do you reckon, Stephen?
I think it bodes the question. I mean, if rather than go down to where they've gone, why didn't they just go to zero tolerance?
So I reckon it would have been better. To call me old-fashioned, I would rather nothing.
Well, they do it in Europe.
I would rather them say you're not allowed to drink anything,
Yeah.
because you are not allowed to drive under the influence.
Yes.
Then we should get rid of sugar, of course, sugar rush, nicotine. In fact, why not drive at all? Let's just go back and not any. But it would make more sense to me saying any alcohol in your system, you're gone.
Yeah.
Because, you know...
But I certainly think it's going to have a major impact on the local bars and cafes where people might have gone in for a drink or two after work.
I think it will.
Now...
You go home,
they'll go home, yeah.
Why not? You just go home and have a drink and buy, you know, it won't affect the
At
ILT because we'll only get it from the
day,
ILT anyway, but it might affect some of the...
Yeah.
In fact, it's only the ILT anyway, isn't it? So we won't affect them because we'll have to buy our alcohol from the ILT anyway, so...
Yeah, but we're buying, you know, at retail or, you know,
anyway.
bottle store prices as opposed to over the bar. And
at the end of the day, some people might not worry too much. They might worry about having a conviction because of their position, you know, but they're not going to lose their licence for any length of time unless they do it twice, in which case...
But it's not the point, it's irritating. I just think that there's a time when people should just nap off out of my life. I know it's completely inappropriate for me when I'm a prosecutor, but there are certain things I expect the law should jump on you for. It's like, I always have this joke about the liquor ban in town. And I'm sorry, we probably drafted in our office. That annoys me too. Do you know what I mean? There's just so many things where people are telling me what to do. And I just think that the man should tell me what to do on certain things that count, and for the rest of them, I just want to be left alone. That's probably unreasonable of me, but I feel like that. I think that, you know...
Yeah.
Interesting.
Squash.
It's definitely going to change people's behaviour.
You think it will?
Oh, it has to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, now, whereas they, yeah, you're dead right, because it's almost half what it was. I mean, 200, the difference between 250 and 400 is quite substantial.
It is.
Yeah. So you're dead right, it will be noticed.
Although what may happen, and in Australia I know these mid-beers are very, very popular, and they're not unreasonably tasting either.
Have you tried to drink? I tried to do low alcohol wine. Because I thought,
never done that.
Cut the calories. I'm obsessed by it, and I can't give up food. So I thought, no, I can give up food. I refuse to give up alcohol. So I'm trying these low alcohol wines. They taste like they're awful.
Yeah.
I just, like, why bother?
Yeah.
What are low alcohol beers like? Are they nice?
Well, there's one in particular which is quite nice.
Is there?
Amstel Light. Yeah, that's very drinkable.
Don't you feel like a bit of a...
No, not necessarily. I mean, if I'm
let's have an Amstel. I don't know. I would not go from man in a pub that was drinking Amstel.
If I'm going to drive...
We're old though, aren't we? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you imagine as a young bloke, you would have never drunk Amstel. You would never have gotten lucky. The cameramen agree with me, honestly, Amstel.
It might keep your vision clear so you don't make mistakes.
But anyway, the mid beers in Australia are very, very popular.
Oh, good.
And they're about, I think they're 3%.
Oh, hell, there's a lot of fun there, isn't
so you
there?
could probably have two or three of those easy
why
enough.
not just have an orange juice, for goodness sake?
Well, you could do that as well. I mean,
well, I'm telling you now, I have tried low alcohol wine.
Yep. And it's no good.
Horrible.
Yeah.
And then you end up drinking the whole bottle anyway to get any sort of impact at all.
Good for the retailer.
Well, I don't know, but...
Whilst we're talking about the people who made the laws, Labor Party's done a review, and we're not going to know what it is straight away, but what they have identified is that in the election there was a problem to unite behind the leader. And I don't know if they need an expensive review to tell us that. And confusion over the vote positive thing, and Andrew Little has made the comment, it didn't mean anything. But anyway, we're not going to hear about this review. How are they looking so far? Andrew Little has been talking out a bit in Parliament and making a few comments. Are they looking better, Stephen?
Pass.
Right.
I haven't taken any notice.
Well, that's interesting in itself.
The election's over.
Right.
So I'm not really engaged with politics in a big way anyway, but
right.
I take a lot more notice when elections are around.
Yeah.
And no, so I haven't really taken any notice. But I mean, they've identified they had a problem at the election. Well, hello. Yes, they did.
Exactly.
Excuse me, you were the one last time I was on here crying like a baby Conservative that in fact when I said that there was no way that Labor would get in, you got hysterical.
She's got a good memory.
And was saying,
no,
oh no!
No, I didn't.
If this happens and this happens
no,
and this
I
happens,
said,
you were. So
what I said was that Winston may hold the balance of power, and he very nearly
Oh, he did not.
He was that close.
Oh, he was not.
He was so.
He was not. You were being...
He was, wasn't he?
He
wasn't far away.
That close. How much percentage
You know
did he
about
get?
eradicating polio. We're that close.
Oh,
New Zealand first was that close.
You're such a Tory. Honestly, do you not think that in fact you're a Conservative? Like anybody in money is right wing. Do you not agree that Key is just really lucky how pathetic they are? Because that whole thing with that blogger was a disaster.
Absolutely was.
It's awful, and he just kind of
That's right.
smiles and sort of
It's
laughs.
rather interesting. There's been some comments lately in the press where commentators have said that Cameron Slater knows so much about John Key now, it might be quite difficult for John Key to get away from the fella. You know what I mean? Like,
That's
you don't keep.
sheer speculation.
What do you reckon?
Sheer speculation.
Well, it's certainly been said. 2 or 3 people have agreed on that and said, well, you know, he's been functioning pretty close alongside Cameron Slater. There's been a lot of information flowing backwards and forwards. If he dumps Cameron Slater now, maybe there'll be some more stuff.
Look, he'd just call a hit on him. Come on, let's face it. We'll just get the SIS out.
Yeah.
He's gone, brother. Yeah. Oh, for goodness sake.
You reckon his phone might
I
be
think
bugged?
Key's clever enough than to be held hostage by a blogger.
I would be
There's
very
many
surprised
things
if there was
that
something
Key is,
over
but
his
I don't
head.
think he's a half-wit.
Well, there's
Although
our-
I did.
Go on, sorry.
I did like his comment, though, that awful comment when the Smithers it got free, and he said something about what are you going to do, and I'm going to ring the Prime Minister and tell him not to, invite him for dinner or something.
This is the Argentinian
Yeah,
Prime Minister. Yeah.
He gets away with some extraordinarily comment.
One-liners.
How could he possibly think that's funny? And we can giggle now, like we've got a paedophile murderer, and okay. He gets away with a lot.
You're dead right.
I would eviscerate him.
He gets away with it.
Yeah, but that's because they're not clever enough. They just want to line him up and just.
But isn't that? I think that's what that a lot of people like about him, that he's quite human.
Yeah, but that was a dumb comment to make. And if you were ever clever, you'd line him up and say, "Look, you think that's funny? Oh, can you imagine what I'd do to him? You might think that's
you'd
funny,
persecute
Mr. Key." I would say, how on earth can the leader of our country think it's funny that under his government, a paedophile murderer escaped and then thought it was funny to say that?
Yeah.
Like, I think they've got to get more indignant and like that was a good thing that you could have crucified the guy on. Did they try to?
I think it was missed completely.
I would have just lined him up.
You did right, yep.
Because that was one thing where it was inappropriate. Don't get me wrong, I like Key. I'd rather have a drink with him. I think Key would be a lot more fun to have a drink with your half. What was that beer?
Mid beer.
Mid-beer than bloomin' little or
I
bloomin'
think so.
Cunliffe.
And that's how we vote. And that's how we vote. On that happy note, we'll go to a break. Stay with us. We'll be back. Welcome back to Newsroom. Well, we've seen a rise since 2011 of 34% in property rises in Auckland. And now, reading in the news, we hear that people are remortgaging their homes to buy boats, to buy cars, and to buy batches at the beach. Is this a rerun? We've heard of this before, Mary Jane. Wasn't this happening around about 2007? We're just going through another cycle of it. Stephen, you've probably got a comment to make about this too, but we'll go to Mary Jane first.
You're the financial expert. I spend all my money on horses. So
it's all gone on horses. Right, over to Stephen.
Spending it on horses is not a bad thing. Well, I mean, the question is, how big is it? And I don't think it's anywhere near to the extent that it might have been in 2007.
Right.
And is it wrong? If I or anyone has a house in Auckland and the value's gone up and I've got a small mortgage and I want to buy a new boat or I want to buy a batch over the hill, am I not allowed to use the equity in my house to do that?
Of course, it's an individual decision, isn't it?
Yeah. And isn't it good for the economy, potentially?
And if you die, your kid's wife that you don't like is going to get it anyway.
Yes.
I think there's a lot to be said for that. I just think that people die with a lot of money and give it to... I don't mind if I die and give it to my sons, but imagine if you end up with one of those daughter-in-laws that you loathe, do you know what I mean? And you spent your whole life working and then they spend it on, like, I don't know, leopard skin tight velour pants or something.
Oh, that would be interesting.
You could write it into the will, of course, Mary Jane, that they're not allowed to do that.
No, it's not that simple. No, but isn't there a point? Like, if you can pay your debt,
exactly,
and you want to have a racehorse or you want to have a boat, as long as you can pay your debt, I think everybody should just, some people like to die having amassed significant amounts of money. Do you ever go to old people's homes and see them dribbling? You know, that awful...
So you'd be in favour of ski trips?
Spend the whole lot, I say.
Spend the kids' inheritance.
Well, no, honestly, as long as you can pay your debts. What I say, as long as you can pay your mortgage and as long as you can pay your interest, I think people should, if your house goes up by $100,000 on the valuation just through pure bloomin' serendipity, if you want to go out and buy flash car, well, it's your money, isn't it? Good on you.
Yeah, I knew you'd have an opinion about it. That's why I asked her. The one thing, of course, on a more serious note is that there's been quite a strong call now to establish a register of foreign ownership. Australia's getting into it. People are going along, to property auctions and seeing Asians there or Chinese, I think the Prime Minister was saying, and getting worried that perhaps the country is being bought up. Should we be worried about it? And does it matter really if foreign owners foreigners owning New Zealand property? What's wrong with
it? The issue, clearly New Zealand has a housing issue, particularly in Auckland. Okay. Now the issue is around supply and demand. Well, there's not enough houses for the number of people that want to buy them, so the price is going up. I think the housing issue would benefit from better information. So if that means establishing a register of who owns properties and where they are domiciled, etc., well, so be it, do it. Because I think we have too much debate about this issue.
There's a lot of guessing going on.
A lot of guessing, and so people are saying this and they're saying that, but they've got no evidence to back it up.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's about freeing up land, building more houses.
Well, John Key said that basically it's about freeing up land. But if, in fact, foreigners are coming in and buying that land and buying those houses, there's a heck of a lot more of them with money than there is land to free up around Auckland. You could free 1,000 sections, 1,000 people would come and buy them and be in the same place, wouldn't you?
Potentially, but you've got to ask yourself, why would a foreigner come and buy a property in New Zealand? And
because they think the price is going to increase and they make money on it, and they have.
Yeah.
They went up by $20,000 average, and not last month, the month before, wasn't it?
But the figure quoted of 34% increase since 2011.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the increase since 2008?
Yeah. Don't know.
About the same.
Is it? Yes.
Yeah, so the 3 years before that, they didn't move at all, and probably went down a little bit. So, I mean, they pick out isolated figures and say, house prices have gone up 34% in the last 3 years. Well, give me a long-term picture. How much have house prices gone up over the long haul? And they have done, particularly in Auckland, they have risen.
And of course, the other point is that when you say 1% in Auckland, and say compare that to Invercargill, 1% of $1 million is $10,000. So we're talking large dollar increases, aren't we? Whereas the same percent applied to a cheaper city is not so many dollars.
Yeah, but not everybody in Auckland owns $1 million house.
No. Well, the average price of them is getting very close to it.
Okay, but can you... Let me throw this. In Invercargill we don't face this, right?
No, we don't.
Okay, but imagine if it was in Invercargill and suddenly we couldn't buy a house because somebody from China or somebody from India or all these countries...
Or the USA, actually, too.
Yeah, and let's just remove the... Okay.
Yeah. And
we're not allowed to buy over there, was coming in and buying up the property. And we're making money off it, paying very little tax, etc. I think that would annoy me. So I'm not talking from money. I understand why people see. I don't like them buying the land. I don't like them buying. I don't like foreigners buying farmland. I just think that the tangata whenua should keep the land.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
But that's.
I agree with you.
But imagine so we're in Invercargill and. You're up the rich end of town. Imagine if you guys couldn't buy houses because all the houses were being bought by wealthy Americans. You guys would get annoyed.
I'm not saying that there should be open slather on who can
buy
houses in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that having more information would actually help that debate.
It's going to settle the debate, isn't it?
And there should be some restrictions around it.
You should have that. Well, explain to me, what is the benefit? Let's say you get 1,000 houses in Auckland and they are all bought for $1 million by somebody from America, right? I understand the benefit is that somebody's paid $1 million each and it's gone into our economy. Post that sale, where is the benefit to having foreign ownership?
There isn't a lot.
No.
If any.
And I know I'm simplifying it, but see, the difference is if it's a New Zealander that's living, there's not, is there? Because the money goes in, but the taxes or that sort of thing, they're not.
And land banking is a problem up there, isn't it? Explain to us what land banking is.
Land banking is buying land and basically
Sitting
on it. Yeah.
Without, so there's apparently quite a large areas of land in Auckland which is land banked. In other words, very wealthy people own it, just doing nothing with it.
Yeah, but they're allowed to do that too.
Well, they're waiting for they are. It's
I
legal.
wish I'd done
it's
that
legal.
in Riverton.
Oh, absolutely.
30
and
years ago, I could have bought the entire front. I'm a Riverton girl.
Oh, right.
30 years ago, I could have land banked the entire sea,
And then knocked off those sections at an enormous profit.
I wish I'd land banked.
Yeah.
So good. I don't have a problem with people making money.
Perhaps there needs
and
to
I
be a
don't have
tax
a
on
problem with rich people making money, because to make money you've got to have money, etc. But I do have a problem with foreigners coming over without necessarily adding something to our economy when we're not allowed to do the same in a lot of these other economies.
And that's where
that's a very good point, because we can't do it in China.
That's where I think it should, that there is a case to be looked at, and maybe they say, if you want to own property in New Zealand, i.e. a residential house, as a foreign investor, you have to build a new one.
Well, fair enough.
Which would be
Yeah,
good.
it employs
It
New
would be good
Zealanders.
for the
You could do
economy.
lots of
Because that increases the
stuff.
supply,
It does, yeah.
and
But
ultimately,
the National's obviously terrified of scaring away investors. It's really funny, isn't it? Winston Peters would have nobody here.
No, he would
because
have
he
no one.
hates anybody that's not kind of one
Yeah.
of us. And then Nationals on the other side not have everybody in, and Labor doesn't seem to have any idea at all, which is why they don't get anywhere. That would almost sum
I'm
it
sure
up.
they'll develop a policy. I've got a lot of faith in them, in the
Have
new
you?
leader. Yep, I think Andrew Little's going to do something. I think it's like nobody's got any faith in him. But when you look at his record of what he actually did with the EPMU, and the guy presents, if you're talking to him, you think, maybe he's been a tradesman or somebody who's come up and taken, but no, the guy's actually a qualified lawyer. He's got a good brain.
Well, that
he
doesn't
just
mean
doesn't.
anything.
Well,
do you know how many
he's got a degree.
dullards are lawyers? Please don't tell
But I
me that
don't
he's got a
think
good
he's-
brain because he's a lawyer.
I
Trust
do-
me.
Okay then. But I like what he says.
At least
he
he's
doesn't.
not a teacher.
Well, there you go. I mean, it'll be
Exactly.
even worse. There's enough of them in Parliament, isn't it?
Exactly.
We won't start mentioning names at this point in time. But I actually think it's like if somebody tells you the film is great, and you go there and you're building it right up, and then, oh gosh. But Andrew Little has been put down by so many people. I actually think when he comes out and systematically does what he does, that there's going to be some surprise. I think he's going to do quite well. But let's not get onto that, because I want to keep talking about money here, particularly the dairy industry. We've seen the price go down. Latest announcement, $4.70 a kilogram. And we're getting to the point where some people are going to start hurting. I mean, some farmers are going to start hurting. How much is this going to reflect on the rest of the economy? Back to Stephen on this one, actually, yeah.
well, I can give you some numbers.
Well, we like numbers.
Yep, $6 billion is the resultant drop between
Right.
last year and this year.
Is that $6 billion of money, $6 billion not coming into the New Zealand economy
Not coming into the farmers' pockets.
and not being spent by farmers?
Yep, and that's equivalent to 2.7% of our gross domestic product, or GDP.
Right.
This is really significant.
Yeah.
I talked to some accountants a few weeks back, and because I was trying to get a handle on what it costs to run a dairy farm.
It's $1,500 per man, woman and child in the country. That's $6 billion. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the cost of running a dairy farm is approximately somewhere between $4 and $5 a kilo of milk solids.
Okay.
So the
An
revenue,
efficient dairy farm.
Yeah.
Right.
and so the revenue now is $4.70. So that tells you that some of them will be at break even, some of them will be at small profit, some might be in a loss
Yep.
situation now.
Yeah.
So it's dramatic.
Now that cost of running the dairy farm, does that say the cost of financing the thing too? It would be different if you owned all the land, no doubt.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to remember. I think they said that was before debt service.
Gosh.
Oh, that can't be right, because
No,
if
that
that's
can't
before
be
debt
right.
service, they're all gone and dusted.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
we're all buggered. Excuse my language,
Yeah,
but
no,
if that's
you're- no,
before
you're
debt
right.
servicing,
No,
they're
that
all gone.
can't be right.
No, it
Can't be right, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's with debt service, but still close enough.
So it depends how heavily geared you are, I guess. So the ones that are highly geared will be in trouble. The ones that are more conservatively geared will be in a better position.
Right. And are we looking for brighter days? I mean, is the outlook looking better, Stephen, on the horizon, or is it?
Well, I mean, I've got no crystal ball in terms of dairy prices, but the short-term outlook's still not good.
Right.
I mean, the futures prices, because there are futures markets for these products, they're looking slightly lower.
Okay.
And certainly I wouldn't be holding my hat out for a sudden turnaround, but hopefully next season things might pick up a bit.
Yeah.
It all depends a bit on what's happening in particularly China, but also Russia and
Well, Russia is quite a big player, isn't it? And of course, nobody's very friendly with Russia at the moment.
No.
We're not selling things to them and buying things from them and whatnot, and it has had an impact.
Yeah.
They're a very big economy, a large number of people, and they were buying dairy products.
Yeah. But I think the consensus is that most dairy farmers can handle one season with these sort of prices.
Okay.
But a back-to-back season with these sort of prices or lower prices would be very, very
disastrous.
Harmful. Yeah.
And the big dairy producing provinces are, of course, Southland, Waikato, and Canterbury. I was surprised at the figures for Canterbury. If anybody had asked me, I would have put my money on Southland as producing more than Canterbury, but it's only Southland and Otago combined which produces more than Canterbury.
Really?
Yep. So, in fact, we might not even match them then.
What about the Naki?
Don't know. Don't know. I think they're slightly lower. We're talking, it's a few million kilograms there. Staying on money,
It's all about money.
It was all about money, yeah. But no, this is one Mary Jane can comment on because do you import anything from overseas? I mean, you ever get on an overseas website and buy, say, I don't know, books from Amazon, clothes from somewhere, anything like that?
I have been on the NBA website lately because my boys are fixated with buying, those T-shirts and that. So I have been buying stuff from the NBA website, yes.
Cool. And you'd understand then if you keep it under $400, you're not paying any GST on it.
Well, I didn't know that, but I found that out today.
Oh, good.
Yes.
And hopefully your order was under $400.
Well, yes, it was.
Well, lucky for
Although
you.
don't even start me. I was doing it in bits until I worked out it was better to do one because then you only got one
lot of freight.
You know how some people are good with money? Hopeless. Yeah.
Oh, well, at least you've realised after the first time. You might do better next time.
I could give you some advice if you like.
And it's free. We're listening.
No, not on TV.
Right.
If you want, I think we should pay GST on it. I think it's crazy. I don't understand how shops and there's been a couple of clothes. I was actually talking to a woman the other day that was working in a woman's clothes shop that was closing and said how difficult it is to compete with the internet. And I've never been one to buy clothes over the net because it's hard enough to get clothes that look all right, let alone something off the internet that look hideous. But let's assume that people do buy off the internet. Why should the retailer in Esk Street or Calvin Street or be at such a disadvantage to the internet? So I actually think it's crazy. I think it's actually really impacting upon local business. So my view would be I think it's fundamentally wrong. I think we need to work out a tax system that covers everything.
All the retailers want is an even playing field.
And it should be. So
an even playing field.
And I'd have no trouble with that. I mean, it sounds pathetic, but I'd rather have a level playing field. It seems to me fundamentally wrong that I can buy products from China or America and not pay tax.
Particularly when some people are going into those same retail stores, looking at the products and they're maybe even trying them on and buying them over the internet, which to me seems...
People don't do that, do they?
People do that.
See, I just think that's just common.
Well, I think it's immoral.
I'd hit people. Yeah. See, that's why I'd be no good in a retail. Can you imagine somebody come into your shop, tried your clothes on, and then bought them on the... Is that how they get them to fit?
Yeah.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
It is.
Kidding.
Yeah.
No, that's quite...
Oh, that's... Really?
Yeah.
See, I'm just so naive. I just think that's rude.
Simon Lew, who's a billionaire in Australia, and I think he's into the he was in Coles Miles. I think he's into Just Jeans and a few things, just things. He is now so hacked off with it over there that he has been instructing his executives to do things like let's level the playing field by we'll set up an internet site too, something like this anyway, and they will be shipped from China or from there, and so and we'll just do the same thing and make our money that way, which is not actually not silly, but it still means that the shop on the street is bypassed.
Yeah.
So
the bigger retail chains will have the ability to do that sort of thing.
Yes.
They can set up an overseas operation and say to their customers, well, okay, we'll play the game. Just buy it from our overseas website and you chip it in and no GST. And or sales tax or whatever it is. So if that gets some traction, then that'll make governments sit up and take notice.
I mean, this is a big business.
But that's only the average East Street retailer can't turn around and do that. I mean, they just wouldn't
How
have
much would you estimate, Mary Jane, that people are buying, like Kiwis on the whole, are spending overseas and importing things privately into the country per
I
year?
have no idea because I don't.
No.
Because what I do is, I don't even buy when I go to, everybody goes, I'm going to Wellington.
Yeah.
I don't even buy out of Invercargill.
Right.
Honestly,
You probably haven't got time when you go to one place.
No. In all honesty, though,
Yeah.
I've got a couple of clothes shops that I go to, and I go to them because I reckon they're Invercargill, and it's a business, and I'm putting back into the community. And what do you get off anyway? Oh, for goodness sake, for $10. I mean, I'm not saying, and that again, I need your advice, but I just refuse. I'd much rather buy an Invercargill.
Oh no, I 100% agree with that.
You know,
and I'm the same.
And our clothes, and anyway, I went to Sydney once anyway. I was probably fatter at the stage. You know, you go through fat, when you're a woman, it's very difficult to find clothes when you're fat. Anyway, I was fat. And I went through Sydney and I couldn't find anything anyway. I would have been better staying at home and going to Labels or Liz Thomas or something. So, anyway. But I don't buy. But I do know some people. I can remember one Christmas feeling particularly bored, and I got on you get on those websites and look.
Oh, yeah.
You can actually buy anything.
You can buy anything.
Well, you could actually go nuts. I mean, I didn't buy anything because I'm,
So
because I couldn't work out how to do the internet banking on it or something.
Oh, goodness. I actually can't think of anything that you can't buy. Well, anyway, I asked you a question. I've got the answer to it.
Oh.
There's apparently we're missing out on $300 million worth of tax on GST, and that's 15%. So clearly there's about $2.1 billion being spent by Kiwis importing stuff through the borders. That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
That is a lot of money. And it's no wonder some people are saying, well, we need to do something about it. Usefully, there was a suggestion that maybe New Zealand Post could be involved in collecting the revenue at the border, which wouldn't be a bad idea because they're finding it difficult to make a profit. So.
Yeah, I think that the issue is how do you solve it? Clearly there's a problem and everyone acknowledges it, but how do you solve
You'd
it?
have to do it at the border.
Yeah, but
there is the only way you could
reduce it to
possibly do
$100
it.
But the thing is that
and you'd have to spend a lot of. People would be opening up packages, wouldn't they?
Yeah, because
it's a job for someone.
There's a critical point where it costs so much to collect.
I know, I'm not great into setting up another government department. Opening packages at the border department, but. You can see.
So that's the issue: is how much do you have to spend to collect, and are you any better off? I mean, as a country, I'm talking about. I mean, clearly the retailer in the street would be better off.
But then the argument becomes: if people can buy things for cheaper, then there's the money that they would have spent on that money they spend on other things.
Well, that's
so
true.
Isn't that the economic argument? That let's say I would have spent $400 if I went to Rebel Sport and bought this outfit, training. Let's say I can buy it for $200 over the net. Do I save that money or do I take the $200 and spend it on something else? And isn't that the argument that it's not necessarily.
Except you might spend that over the net as well.
But it's still $200 that you didn't spend in the country.
Yeah, I know that. But I suppose you could spend it on the net.
We haven't got a solution to this.
Well, I think
normally we can solve most problems here on Newsroom.
There is a potential solution, Bill, and that is. We have to acknowledge that the world's changed.
Yes. Yeah, and do something about it.
It's global now, and so maybe sales tax or GST is no longer applicable.
Right. We need another clever solution.
They have to look at a financial transactions tax or something like that, which replaces GST.
Oh, I see. So,
so every time you spend $1 through your bank account or through your credit card, there's a tax on it.
It's dead
so it doesn't
easy.
matter whether you spend it overseas, here, or whereabouts.
You know what the problem with
the tax is? And so they take GST off everything here, because they replace it with the financial transactions tax. Prices drop here, so all of a sudden goods and services are far more competitive.
Well, they must have thought about that. There must be a reason why they're not doing it.
There's a very good reason.
Why don't they do
There's
that?
a very good reason why they're not doing it.
Why?
It was suggested by the Social Credit Party a few years ago.
But that was years and years ago.
It doesn't matter, they've got a long memory.
And technology is far, 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 far better now than it was then. And we've got these issues that we didn't have then. So I think
that's what a young one at work said. I said, these are the issues, and I always ask them if they know anything or are interested, and that's what he said. He said, what we have to realise is that the world has changed.
And that has gained a lot of ground, and I think some other countries are doing it. We're going to take a break. We're coming back with topics of interest, which as per usual will be very interesting. Stay with us. Welcome back to Newsroom. Actually, I'm going to have my topic of interest first this week, because last week I missed out. But I can't say much about it, so I'm going to have to ask Mary Jane. Mary Jane, I've been actually very angry reading the news to read that some employers were trying to charge their poor old employees in gas stations when people drove off having, got their petrol and not paid for it, and saying, well, they should have chased them or something. Surely this would be incredibly dangerous activity for the employee. And again, in supermarkets, when the same thing happens. Is this just going too far, isn't it?
Oh no, I think what should happen, you're working in a gas station, somebody drives off, you immediately leap into your own vehicle, follow them at speed, tooting and hanging out the window.
This is tongue-in-cheek.
Yelling expletives saying, stop you. Oh, for goodness sake, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
It is ridiculous.
Oh, they run out of the store without paying. One should run up behind them.
Leaving the till unattended.
Oh no, tackle them forcefully onto the... What a load of rubbish.
It is.
Honestly, wouldn't you tell the employers to get knotted?
Are they allowed to do this?
Of course,
They've been doing it.
The difficulty about it is this, and I'll put my union hat on and I'll lose more employer clients, but the problem is this. When you get low paid workers without any power, sometimes the requirement to have a job is more important than saying to the boss, this is not fair. And what I found is when you get that uneven power balance to that extent, people will pay it. Mm-hmm. But again, I mean, I can understand if it was different. If there was let's say there was a button that you had little spikes up in front of your wheels, do you know what I mean? And you said, you will not undo that, but you will not let that car drive off until they've paid. Yeah. Now I can understand if some dip lets the car go out before it's paid to say we will take that off your wages.
Or a system like in the United States of America at night, in many places, where you have to pay first for the gas and then they dial it into the pump.
But realistically, what is a person going to do and they'd be hoons, I'm sorry. Yeah. Do many white, old, middle-class ladies drive off not paying petrol? You can imagine it. It would be a laugh,
I've done it once or twice, then driven back and apologised and said, I would have got you next time, don't worry.
What I'm saying is you'd think that a lot of the time that people do it are kind of, and you're getting people to... I just think it's offensive. And plus with how can you run... This is my topic of interest. Does anybody else hate those self-service in the supermarket? I refuse to use them. People should be paid. I refuse to have somebody talking to me. Yeah. My son had to take me through because he said I was a dinosaur, and he did it all that. I refuse to do it.
I say issue. If they say, look, would you like to come through here? I say no. I am supporting your job in this place.
They're only paying people blooming minimum wage anyway. It really annoys me. And then you've got to swipe it and the machine talks to you. No, I don't either.
Do you check yourself in at the airport?
What? No, I don't. That annoys me too. Why should I check myself in? That's what I pay people to do.
Yes. And it makes a job.
Plus it annoys me and then I get the wrong seat and it just irritates me.
There you go.
Right, I don't do anything myself that I can get somebody else to do. Oh, okay.
Well, generally speaking, in a situation like that, when you've got your mind on something else, they can do a better job anyway. It's just something else for you to think about. And it's actually quite nice to be taken care of occasionally in a situation like that.
Well, I don't.
You can check yourself in before you even go to the airport.
You can, yeah.
It is, I know.
On your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can do that then if you choose to. It is a slippery slope. One of these days we won't have anybody doing anything.
But it's about upskilling. It's about giving people jobs.
No, it's about taking people at the lower end of the socio-economic blooming and taking their jobs away from them.
Yeah, because most
exactly. Or children that would be working. In the old days, the kids on the checkout would be students.
I actually think there's a wider issue too here. I think that there is suffering goes on in the community because as people get older, etc., and for various reasons they're living alone, and contact with others becomes important to them, be it contact at the supermarket or contact, they actually quite like to go along, if it's just even have a chat with the checkout operator or whatever it is.
He's a Tory, he doesn't understand that.
Okay, right.
I find myself being far
come on.
People need people, again, and I understand that they might save X amount of dollars.
I'm just a worry, I'm agreeing with Mary Jane here.
Actually, no, it's wrong.
Look, you won't get an argument out of me that people need social contact, and if they want to go to the supermarket and talk to the checkout operator, that's fine. You're never going to have a supermarket that's all self-serve. That's never going to happen.
The point we were trying to make is that it's a slippery slope.
Potentially, but it's technology.
It's a way of the future.
We'll have to see what happens on that one.
But going back to that petrol station.
Yes, right, back to that.
Why the hell can't they have pay before you fill?
Well, if it's a problem in that area, they should do.
Well,
Absolutely should do.
how hard would that be?
It's not. They could even switch the pumps over to say, swipe your card through the pump.
Well,
They've got that now.
isn't
They've
there?
got that now.
Technology,
I do that now. I just pay, fill up and drive off.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't even have to go inside.
Oh,
Right,
God
there you go.
forbid you talk to anybody.
I talk to my wife and kids when I get home.
There you go. Well, they could be in the car at the same time.
I'm single. I have to speak to as many people as I can.
Where are we up to with our topics of interest? It must be on to you now, Stephen.
Oh, righto. My topic of interest is not a topic of interest, just
that's good.
an advertisement for the local people out there, our viewers
Cool.
that are in the Invercargill district. Mm-hmm. Next Wednesday, 17th of December, YMCA Carols by Candlelight in Queen's Park at the Band Rotunda, 8 o'clock. Wonderful community event that the YMCA puts on every year. So free, to attend. So people should get along and support it. And
Do you have to
Sing a few
supply your
Christmas
own
carols?
candles?
no, the hymn book or the carol books.
Yes.
Not hymn books. Carol books and the candles are for sale
And you're
at the event.
they are for sale.
Yeah,
So
but
And you
Take care of
are actually allowed to light candles, or is it?
no.
I knew it. Tell me.
It's
They're not battery candles, are they?
they unfortunately.
I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, they are now, and I agree totally that this is just blooming PC
Why?
madness.
Tell me it wasn't health and safety. How
Well,
many people were set
We're
on
not
fire
allowed.
over the decades?
We're not allowed. We've been running this for years, and we've always had the.
Who's stopping you?
We
God.
always had the real candles, and we used to light them. But last year, I think was the first year we weren't allowed.
And that
them.
would just about sum it up, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it was a nice little story, wasn't it? And now you're not allowed.
But it's still a great event.
No, except you're not allowed to light
Not allowed real
candles.
candles.
Honestly,
And
God.
so you've got battery-operated candles that kids can take them away with them, can
Because
they?
Queen's Park's so dry that we're worried about burning it down.
But there is an advantage to the whole thing. That whereas before the kids couldn't walk home with their candle going, they're going to have that wee battery-operated candle. They can take it home.
And they can put it away for next
Oh,
year.
don't be so Pollyanna. Can you just be outraged for once
I was outraged about the other thing.
About the stupidity of a society that we live in, that you can't light blinking candles. Does that not make you nuts?
Look,
it's the man squashing us.
No, it's actually minor compared to people who are suggesting that we shut down Guy Fawkes, because I reckon that's terrible.
The
I like
man
Guy
wants to
Fawkes.
squash us, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
There's
there's no
this
question
big
about it.
person in the sky who's probably a woman that is just willing to squash the life out of us.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
But
depressing.
there are instances of that retrograding, like some schools. Came from much earlier in the year, but schools who have gotten
letting
rid
people
of all their
play.
political correctness. They just let the kids go out and play and do what they want, and don't have too many restrictions on them. They've actually found the rate of injury has gone down rather than up. It's gone down because the kids very quickly learn what causes pain. Mm-hmm. When they land on sponge rubber and things like that all the time, and there's just nothing to cause injury, they don't know what causes pain.
I am going to go along to Christmas by candlelight.
And you're going to take
And
fire.
I'm
Are you going to take
bring
fire?
a candle, ladies and gentlemen. And
Do you know what? There's probably not a law against
Would I
it.
be arrested?
What's that?
Because
They can't arrest me, can they?
I think there might be one, maybe two.
Ladies and gentlemen
Park
of the
rangers
Invercargill,
there.
rise up against the stupidity of the man. Bring a candle.
And matches.
Light it.
And matches. Or no,
We know
lighter.
what's going to happen, don't you?
Silent night.
It'll probably be windy and raining, and your candle will get extinguished.
If it is raining on the 17th, it'll be on the 18th.
That's right. It's most unlikely in Invercargill it'll be raining anyway.
Absolutely won't be raining.
Well, we've been having brilliant weather lately. Where are we up to? Did we actually give you a topic of interest, Mary Jane, or
No, I'm just
have you got nothing more to say?
No, I've got nothing more to say. I'm
You've
sorry.
hardly said anything tonight.
He's very quiet tonight.
So you're mocking me now. I'm
Yes,
quite
I know,
happy. That's
it's okay.
Have you
fine.
seen The Mockingjay yet? The new movie? No?
Oh, tell us about
With
it.
Lord,
I haven't seen it.
With Lord doing the major song. Yeah.
No, I haven't
Right.
seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing it at some stage.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
You're about a decade. No, 3
Lord
decades
has
too
been
old for
a
that.
probably one of the most positive things for this country, I believe, that we've seen. She's done more as an individual and her individuality for Kiwis.
See,
That
she's
anyone for a
starting to
long
annoy
time.
me now that she's friends with Taylor Swift. I quite liked her.
Yeah,
now she keeps
she can
hanging
handle
with.
it.
She keeps hanging with Taylor Swift, and no, she's
She'll
irritated
survive,
me.
won't
Now, I
she?
used to like her when she started,
Yeah.
but now she's
Well, write to her and
irritated
tell
me.
them she'll come right. I mean, she's got to associate with these people a little bit, doesn't she?
She doesn't have to be besties with them, does she?
I don't know. I don't know if she really
She
is.
besties with Taylor.
She's besties with
Oh,
Taylor
that's what
Swift.
the media
Mr.
says.
Come on, yeah, somebody, can the cameraman nod? I'm right, aren't I?
So younger
besties
than
with
us.
Taylor Swift, yeah. Yeah, she is. Do you not read anything?
Well, I read a bit about it. I don't know if she does see a bit of Taylor Swift, but is Taylor Swift that bad? I mean, there's other ones she
Taylor
could-
Swift has gone through every man in Hollywood and writes a song about him.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
I
I'm
didn't
not
know
saying,
that.
no, I
I'm
didn't
too
mean go through every man. I was not making aspersions.
I know
but
what you mean,
her
yeah.
songs are basically about
Yeah.
boys
Her
breaking
exes,
up with
yeah.
her. Do you not
Oh,
find that?
okay.
I find that irritating too.
Well, it's a bit tiring after a while.
Well, I know. I know. I'm waiting for somebody to write a song about her. Wouldn't it be funny? I don't know
But
if
anyway,
anybody
we're going to give
has.
Lord the benefit of the doubt because I think she's tremendous. And on that happy note, we're going to finish up. Thank you very much to my panel, Mary Jane Thomas and Stephen O'Connor today for being with us. And we'll look forward to seeing you in a week's time.